approaching climate change and innovation. We should be somewhat ambitious. But without further ado, I would like to pass the table to Isabelle Ryckbost, the Secretary General of ESPO, to give the views of port authorities on this important issue. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I'm very honored to be here again in this opening session for the GreenPort conference, and I must say I'm also personally proud to sit next to a former Prime Minister. It doesn't happen every day, so I'm very happy with that. So I would also like to thank the Port of Amsterdam for hosting this GreenPort conference, and also for choosing the theme or putting the emphasis on partnership. Because I think if we look at our organization, European Seaports Organization, I think the success of this organization is this partnership. We really put our forces together to strengthen the voice of the port authorities towards the European policymakers. And this is an effort. You have to be patient and so on, but you have to compromise. There has to be always a coalition of the willing, but we have that in our organization, and I think it's very important. And if we have also a partnership to influence the policymakers, or try to influence the policymakers, we also have this network of knowledge. We are also doing a lot of bottom-up work. We have our experts coming together here today. A lot of the environmental experts in the ports are present. So, and one of our flagships of this bottom-up work is the EcoPort Network. It's a network of ports who are willing, it's also a coalition of the willing, who are willing to set a step further to be proactive on environment. Each at their pace, big and small, and but everyone is looking forward and wants to do something proactively. And we are celebrating also these 2 days, the 20 years of this network, and I'm happy that we can link it to this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I always consider, and I always use a bit this conference to explain and share with you our environmental agenda, our sustainable agenda within ESPO. And I would like to do so, and I would like to briefly bring up 5 issues that we are working on, and 5 issues that are a priority for us at the moment. And the first issue, and some are very concrete issues, but I think very important issues for the port authorities, it's the management of ship-generated waste in ports. It's the review of the Port Reception Facilities Directive. It is now 15 years in force, and the aim of this directive was to avoid that waste is dumped into the sea and that it's brought into the ports. And it works on an incentive. We want to, the policy has made it to incentivize the ship owners not to deposit it in the sea, the garbage. And we believe that after 15 years there is work to make it again fit for purpose, to adapt it. There are new forms of waste and so on. So we really encourage that, this exercise. But what we see is that it's now mixing up a bit with the marine litter discussion and with the plastic soup discussion, the plastic soup in the sea. And we think this is a very much a problem. But we think we should be careful with addressing this issue in the framework of the Waste Reception Facilities Directive, because we should look at the causes of the marine litter. We should see what is sea-based and what is land-based in the causes. And if we look also at sea-based causes of this marine litter, we should also dare to say that it's not only merchant shipping, but that it's also fishing vessels and also the recreational craft that has its share into the causes of this marine litter. But fair enough, we have to be ambitious, and we have to try to, if there is still a waste gap, a difference between the waste created on a ship, the garbage, the household waste, and the waste delivered, we should try, and or policymakers should try to close this gap. And But there again, we should see that if we talk about to incentivize a single fee and say ship owners can bring their garbage to the port and pay one single fee for that, whatever the amount, we believe that it wouldn't be very responsible not to define a right of delivery and to maybe put a limit at the normal exploitation of a ship, let's say. Because we see that there are some abuses, it could create some waste tourism, and we also believe that from a polluter pays principle, you cannot make it to say like whatever you bring into the port, you pay the same. So let us not delete too much this polluter pays principle. Ports want to facilitate, want to help in the issue, but we have to balance it a bit. But we will have the occasion to talk about that later on today. The second issue is tax exemption for onshore power supply. Let me explain. So far, if you have the electricity generated on board of a ship, is exempted of VAT. But if you use the onshore power supply, this is subject to VAT. So you see directly there is a competitive disadvantage of using onshore power supply. We are not now happy that the Commission is looking into this issue. They are preparing the refit of the Energy Taxation Directive, and they have put on their roadmap, they have mentioned the issue. So we hope that it's very difficult because it's a taxation issue, so you need this unanimity in the Council. But we hope that there is a breakthrough, because this would take away a big disadvantage of using OPS. And it's an important issue for our ports, because in the public consultation on this issue that the Commission organized, a lot of ports have been participating. The third issue is investments in our ports. I must say, be it on alternative fuel facilities, energy transition, circular economy, more efficient operations, digitalization, there are so many more reasons to invest in ports than just increasing capacity. And many of these reasons are very good reasons and with a lot of added value for the region, for the community, but not always a direct return on investment for the Port Authority. We often say the investments in ports, the return on investment is low and slow. So it's not always bankable, and therefore we count a bit on Europe's transport infrastructure policy, which since 2013 is a very well-designed policy, but of course you need a budget, and it's always, we are now preparing at European level, they are preparing the European budget, the framework for the next 7 years, and we hope that in the next 7 years we can keep the budget we have and even strengthen it further, because the needs are there, and we say transport is an enabler, so it helps the economy, it helps sustainability. So we hope that we can have that there is still the possibility to have this grand component in the investment in ports. The fourth issue is decarbonisation. It has already been mentioned by the previous speakers. Ports have the whole climate agenda, decarbonisation agenda high on their radar. The Paris Agreement has been a milestone, an eye-opener for many people. And we all have to act to move to transit to a carbon neutral, low, zero economy in time. And ports are nodes of transport, but are also nodes of energy and often nodes of industry. And ports have to engage, and they do so. I think Amsterdam is a perfect example. You are very active in circular economy. You have made this engagement to be coal-free in 2030 and other things, but I think you're very active on that. But we cannot engage if not all stakeholders, users are engaging. And ladies and gentlemen, last year I had the same message. The shipping sector has also to get on board of this. They know it, they want to work on it, but we need really a global but urgent response. We need a CO2 reduction target for the shipping sector. I'm happy to see at the MEP 71 there has been a procedural engagement progress in IMO, and we hope now that this will be followed by a progress on substance. We believe that there should be an initial CO2 reduction target and short-term measures in 2018, and by 2023 we need really the target and the measures. We believe that in this whole discussion, ports can incentivize the ship owners, but this cannot replace this binding target, and we should really come back and not deviate from the essence, because we now hear voices that speak about port incentives and so on. It's a complement, but we are not, port authorities cannot replace the role of the legislator in that respect. So, we also, in that respect, and I want to mention that because we have the International Organization of Ports and Harbors, IAPH, and they have done a submission to IMO, and we are supporting this submission. So we hope that IAPH can defend the interests of the ports and our plea at IMO level. Ladies and gentlemen, the last issue is also an issue that has been mentioned by Koen. It's the port-city relation. Since 2009, ESPO has been very active on this issue. We have, since 2009, we give an award each year to a port that have a very active and is not only very active, but have a very good project in the relation port-city. It always goes with a certain theme. So we are now, next year, it will be the 10th edition of this ESPO award. It's very important. More than 90% of European ports are urban ports. So it's really a challenge for many ports. And we established in 2010 a code of good practices on the relation port-city. And I believe that it's time to look again at this issue and to look again at the code, because in this 10 years' time, or almost 10 years' time, a lot has changed. Ports and cities have changed, but also the policy of the ports, or of how proactive and what do they do in their relation with cities. A lot of good practices have been added, a lot of changes in the view how to tackle that. We see that there is new concept, new ideas floating around. So we think also in the context of decarbonization, it is time maybe also to show how ports can contribute to the decarbonization of the city. Because as nodes of energy, nodes also of new forms of energy, ports can offer a lot to the city. So I hope to start with this review very soon, and in 2010, or in the preparation of the 2010 code, we had the active participation of the Port of Amsterdam, so I count again on the Port of Amsterdam to help us with this exercise. So thank you everyone, and I'm very much looking forward to the discussions today and tomorrow, and to see how ports can further set the scene on sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Isabelle. I think it's a very useful oversight of what's happening.